Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Welcome to our today's session of Impact Talk series, and it's called Meet the Global Leader. In this series, organized by School of Entrepreneurship Development, which is a non-profit organization based in Bangladesh, we work for university-going students. We work for youths, um, and through this session, we try to develop a mindset among students so that they before graduation they develop their skills, develop their knowledge apart from their academic studies, and we invite professionals from around the world to share their skills and knowledge development journey and some lessons with our students so that they can understand and analyze and act on it uh, to their skills and knowledge development journey. Today we have invited Miss Maya from Georgia. She's the CEO at International Association Civitas, Georgica. She is also a senior expert with more than 13 years of experience across child rights, migration, social policy, justice, education, and community development. Her work focuses on creating stronger systems that support children, families, and communities. What makes her journey particularly inspiring is the way she has connected policy, research, leadership, and real world impact while working across different sectors and institutions. For today's conversation, we'll explore her career journey, leadership lessons, social impact, youth participation, and perspective on how the next generation can contribute to meaningful change. Maya, it is a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for sharing your time with us. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I had quite a long day. Uh, happy to being here. Hello from Georgia. I'm quite excited.
Great. So we're going to learn a lot
Yeah.
from you, from your experiences, and here is the presentation.
Thank you so much once again. First of all, I would like to thank the Schools of Entrepreneurship Development for inviting me to join the Meet the Global Leader series. It's a real pleasure to speak with you, students, young professionals in Bangladesh, especially because the question we face at the beginning of our careers are often very similar, no matter where we live in Georgia, in Bangladesh, doesn't matter at all. When I was invited to speak about lessons and stories from the professional journey, I started thinking about what would actually be useful to share. I could tell about a project, organizations, positions, or achievements, but I think the more important story is what happens between those visible milestones, how we choose our direction, how we discover what matters to us, how we respond when the things do not work, and it always happens, and how an idea can eventually become a real change. Today I would like to share my reflections from my own journey. There are not rules for success, and they are currently not perfect career formula. They are simply lessons I have learned while working in child rights, education, migration, social policy, civil society. And I want to begin with something that may be reassuring for anyone who does not yet have a perfect plan for the future. I didn't have one either. So I would like to share my perspectives today with you. When I look back at my professional journey, one thing is very clear to me. I didn't start with a perfect career plan. I didn't know exactly what position I wanted to have For example, in 10 or 15 years, I didn't have a carefully designed roadmap saying that first I will do this, then I will work there, and eventually I will work there and become this kind of professional. My journey developed step by step. I originally studied law and later continued my education in public policy. At the time, I was already becoming increasingly interested in one question: how do laws, policies, and mostly institutions actually affect people's everyday life? And gradually, my professional focus moved towards children, education, social policy, and human rights. What attracted me to this field was not only the idea of defending rights in theory. For example, from the academia's perspective, I became interested in what happens after we say that a child has a right to education, protection, participation, or development. Who makes sure that these rights exist in practice? What happens when this system doesn't work? And this is usually such cases we have a lot in Georgia today. What happens when a problem is invisible to decision makers? And most importantly, we speak about it. This question started shaping my professional choices. So somehow over the years, I have worked on issues related to child rights, education, preschool education, migration, social protection, and public policy. I have worked with children and families on the field as well, and I'm proud of this because field work demands a lot of sacrifice. Also had a possibility and opportunity to work with teachers, psychologists, civil society organizations, even with municipalities and governmental institutions. And these are the most difficult stakeholders today in Georgia, and also with international organizations. And through all of these experiences, I learned something that I think maybe I couldn't understood much this earlier, that career doesn't always grow in a straight line. Sometimes one project introduced you problem and had never thought about it before. One conversation can completely change your professional interests. Sometimes you accept an opportunity without knowing exactly where it will lead, and sometimes the most important work begins with very simple questions. For example, like in my case, is there a group of children whose needs aren't seen? This question became particularly important in my work with children whose parents migrate abroad for work. For years, I had the opportunity to work on these issues. I would keep some part of my presentations. And these questions became particularly important in my work because usually migration in Georgia, people discuss that this from the perspectives of adults or employment or remittances or economics. But there was another side of the story, children remaining in their home country while one or both parents were living abroad. Their experiences much less visible, unfortunately. And this experience taught me enough To another important lessons, you do always choose your professional purpose. You do not always choose your professional purpose at the beginning of the career. Sometimes you discover it by paying attention. You notice a problem, you meet people affected by it, you understand that something is missing, something isn't right, and then gradually you decide that this is something worth working for. So when young people ask me how do I choose a perfect career, I usually think that perhaps this is the wrong question, because you do not necessarily need to know exactly where we will be in 10 years. Instead, just you can ask yourself what problems I'm curious about, what kind of change matters to me, what I'm willing to learn, and where can my skill be useful, because this is also very important with my knowledge to realizing the knowledge and skills you have, and where can it be useful, because sometimes your professional journey becomes clear only after you have already started walking. And in my experience, curiosity, openness, and strong sense of purpose can take you much further than just having a perfect career. So I somehow to find the purpose of my career, my journey during this period. For me, finding the purpose is a in a profession wasn't about discovering one perfect job title. It was about understanding what kind of change I wanted work to contribute to. There is an important difference between just having a job. You finish at 6 p.m. or at 5 p.m. and that's all, and having a sense of purpose in your work. A job can give you responsibilities, deadlines, tasks, and salary, of course, and this part is also very important, but purpose answers a different questions. Why does this work matter? And perhaps even more importantly, who is affected by what I do? In my field, these questions became central very early. When you work on child rights, education, or social policy, it's easy to become focused on documents, regulations, project indicators, meetings, reports. Often we have a lot of pressure, even from the donors, and all of these things of course are necessary. Without them you can just continue, but behind every policy, every program, every meeting, every statistics, there is a person. This is a child, this is a family, this is a teacher trying to respond to a difficult situations, and sometimes with a very extremely limited resources. There is a psychologist, social worker, or other professional trying to support someone with also very limited resources. And I think purpose begins when you stop seeing your work only as a set of tasks and start seeing the human consequence of those tasks. One of the most important lessons learned is that meaningful work often begins with nothing what others have to notice yet. Some issues are already visible. Everyone talks about them. They are on political agendas, in the media and in public debates. Other problems are much quieter. They may often thousand affect on 1,000 people, but they aren't yet properly named, researched, or understood. This is what really matter. This was very clear to me in my work related to children, those parents migrated abroad. Migration is often discussed in Georgia only as an economic matters. So we decided, me and my team decided to work from different perspectives and understand what these children who are left behind in Georgia, and later we had the opportunity to continue and increase our work destination. It is not only in Georgia; it is also in Armenia nowadays. So, what these children really need. So we started to think from their perspectives. We realized that it was not enough to simply identify a problem. If you really want to create impact, you have to move from concern to action. You need evidence, first of all. You need to listen to those people who are directly affected from this issue. You need to make research. You need professionals who understand this issue. You need institutions that are willing to respond, and very often you need to repeat the same message many times before it begins to enter in public discussion. This is also where I learned that purpose doesn't always mean doing something dramatic, something sometimes meaningful changes is very practical. It's just repeating the same message and talking about the same issues all the time. It may mean developing a tool that helps a teacher recognize the child needs. It may mean bringing professionals from different sectors into the same room for the first time. Sometimes it means producing research that gives a previously invisible problem and name and evidence. It may need helping one institution ask a better question, and sometimes these small changes gradually become structural changes. I think this is particularly important for young professionals to understand. We often imagine impact as something very large and very immediate. They think that we have when we have become a CEO or a minister or a famous entrepreneur or the head of an international organization before we can influence anything. But impact often begins much earlier. It begins with how seriously you take your work. And it begins with questions you ask. It begins with whether you are willing to challenge an assumption. It begins with whether you listen to people who are usually not involved into the conversation. And for me, another important part of finding purpose has been understanding that professional success and professional meaning are not always the same thing. A promotion can be a successful, prestigious titles can be also a success. A successful project, of course, is a success, but sometimes the most meaningful question is what changed because of this work. Did someone gain access to support? Did a professional change the way they work already before you started this work? Did the institution begin to recognize a problem differently? And I don't think everyone needs to work in human rights and social policy to have this sense of the purpose. You can be any profession, entrepreneur, engineer, teacher, journalist, doctor, designer, or a business leader. Purpose does not come from the sector. It comes from understanding the value your work creates and responsibility that comes with it. So probably my advice to young people would be this, that do not only ask what career should I choose, also ask what kind of problem I want to help solve, what kind of value do I want to create, whose life could be better because I did my work well. When you begin answering those questions, your profession becomes more than a career, than a career. It becomes a way of contributing to something larger than yourself. Before I will speak about how can be manageable to create something visible, I also want to share how can we put on the agenda the important issues we have in social lives. Children have women have. Only one of the most important experience in my professional journey has been learning how an invisible problem can gradually become a public issue, and I want to explain this through one example from my own work. For several years ago, and for several years, Georgia has been deeply affected by labor migration. Many parents leave to the country to work abroad in order to support their families. This is often see from the adults' perspectives, as I mentioned before, but there are children who are also affected from parental migration, but they were not always visible as a group with specific experiences, specific needs, and this was important dimensions. So after the working on this topic, we created two phase of the research, and they found the organizations, experts, found people who were also in fact affected with this problem, and we had opportunity to not only gather evidence, also listen those people. Also, we somehow managed to create coalitions and create supporters of this topic in Georgia, because then something isn't visible, it's not popular. For example, media wasn't interested with this topic before because they thought that it isn't interesting for society. But after research and after the finding partners, coalitions at the very local levels. I mean, in the villages, we had the meetings with people in the villages, in the small cities, and it was interesting how how they shared their experiences. And during this, for probably 5-6 years, we created also tools, and even I became a TV star. I don't know. I don't know if so sometimes in my family, people, my family very often jokes about this, but when people see me, even when I go some grocery, probably they say, "Oh, Maya, we know you because you work on children left behind." And so yeah, it became somehow visible, but it wasn't only of course, it wasn't only me. It was the whole team of our organization and all those
Yeah.
supporters. At the end of the day, we somehow managed to create a policy which was interesting not only for civil society organizations. Also was very interested because of this media engagement and the bottom up. We managed to bottom up the issue. Became a very important topic for also at local level, local municipalities, and also it was very very important for the central government of Georgia as well. So I'd love to continue with the with my journey. So um, I groped three lessons about leaderships, and I want to share it with you. Sometimes in Georgia, when we speak about leadership, they often imagine that, oh, this is somehow a position, a director or CEO or a manager or a political leader, someone with authority. But one of the most important things learned through my professional journey is that leadership is not necessarily about position. It's mostly about the responsibility. It is about what you do when you see that something needs to change. And from my own experience, I would like to share these three lessons about leadership. First of all, it's first one is start before everything is perfect. The first lesson is really simple. Do not wait for perfect conditions in professional lives. Perfect condition rarely exist. You may not have enough resources. You may have not enough information. Ideal team, not in my case, but it happens sometimes. You may not have institutional support. It's very normal situation in Georgia, and sometimes you may not even know whether your idea will work or will not work, and this had hesitation and this self insecurance is always set on the table. This is especially true when you are trying to introduce any new issue or create some social change. Leadership often means being willing to start responsibility even when some uncertainty remains. Of course, this doesn't mean acting carelessly. Preparation matters, of course, evidence matters, planning matters, but there is a point where preparation has to become action. I have experienced many situations where the first step was taken without knowledge exactly what the final result would look like. Sometimes we started with research, with a very small pilot project, even a very small one meeting, and then the work grew. This taught me that action can create clearly. You do not always understand the whole road before you begin. So be prepared, but do not become trapped by the need for perfection. This was my issue. The second lesson probably is build coalition, because everything is about people. No meaningful change is created by one person alone, and very rarely is created by even organization alone. Because the most situation results I have seen came from cooperation, from bringing people together who had different roles, different expertise, and sometimes very different perspectives as well. As civil society organizations may understand the needs of communities, so this is very important important lesson I've learned, and the third lesson is stay close to the people affected by the problem, because never become so focused on systems, strategies and institutions that you lose connection with the people affected by the problem. Because sometimes when I take a journey and go in some village of Georgia from the capital, I have a 300 kilometers road, but I think and I realize that the meeting with those people who are directly affected from this problem is the most important lesson learned I had in my professional life. And I do not want to close up our session without speaking about failure, because there is no part of professional life that we do not talk about often enough. Failure, uncertainty, and the moments when things simply do not go according to the plan. When we look at someone's professional journey from the outside, we usually see the final results. We see successful project, public recognitions, but behind of these changes, the moments, we have a lot of questions. We are doubting of ourselves. Sometimes maybe we are doubting with our teams, because this is where very important part. But from the resilience perspective, for me, resilience doesn't mean pretending that failure doesn't affect me, and it doesn't mean repeating the same strategy forever simply because you believe in that goals. Resilience means being able to ask questions: what did not work, what can I learn from this, or what should I change, and how can I continue. Maybe if one approach doesn't work, that does not always mean that a goal is wrong. Maybe the timing was wrong, or evidence was not enoughly strong. Professional maturity is learning how to separate the mission from the methods, and we can always think about it, because resilience means when you just have a lot of sometimes a lot of failure, but you somehow to manage to continue work, and do not let one unsuccessful moment become your identity. Sometimes it's very hard, but you can fail at something without being failure, but do not build your confidence only on one success as well. Before I finish, I want to return the idea I started with. A meaningful professional journey doesn't require a perfect plan. For my perspective, it requires direction, curiosity, values, and the willingness to keep learning. You may not yet know exactly where your career would take. That is not weakness. It's quite normal, I think so. What matters is whether you paying attention to the problem around you, whether you are willing to take responsibilities, whether you can work with others, whether you remain capable of adapting when the road's changing. You do not need to be the most powerful person in the room to create impact. You need to understand the problem, staying consistent, find the right people, and be willing to keep working when the results are not immediate. So, whether you are the beginning of your professional journey, my final message is very, very simple. Start, learn, listen, build relationships, protect your integrity, and do not be afraid if your path changes along the way. Sometimes the opportunities you never planned become the work that matters most. So, thank you very much for having me, and thank you for listening.
Great, thank you so much for like this amazing insights,
Thank you.
lessons that you have shared is truly commendable, and definitely it is how we actually see our life. At one point you mentioned that sometimes it's not about the title. Yeah, we have to just to represent. We need that represent the title, but a leader who has no title. I mean, there was a book. So that thing is when we work for a cause, for a purpose, like everything will, all the universe will support you with their resources. You will find a way. So this is very important, especially for students who want to be a leader, who want to create impact in the society, in the country, and globally. So this is very important. What we feel as well, um, this purpose you also mentioned. Without any purpose, when we were at school, we studied, like a ship without a radar is aimless, something like that. I forgot. It's been a long time ago. But if a ship has no radar, like it will be just going here and there. It has no end. So the true north is important, the purpose of life. What is our true north? To define and define that is very important, and just keep following it. It doesn't matter, but the true north, they will reach out if they can find the true north. So just want to ask one question to you before ending our session. But definitely, our audience who want to learn more, you can reach out to our audience, to our speaker, Ms. Matt through LinkedIn, and you can send your questions, you can connect, and uh, just let the discussion goes on, continue. So last question, when we discuss a lot, uh, this, we did that, and a lot of experiences and lessons. According to you, considering the um, confusing world we are living in right now, we cannot predict anything. Who is going to, win a competition? Uh, what customers are going to like, just after 5 minutes from now. Um, so this confusing and volatile situation we're in, and what's coming in future, how university students can start preparing themselves for their next endeavor. I mean, after their graduation, if they want to pursue their professional career, or they want to start their own venture, how they can start preparing from today, not tomorrow. Um, what they can do to develop skills and knowledge. In short, if you share, it will be really
Oh,
helpful. Thank
it's
you.
it's a quite a tough question because I don't know really, because frankly, the world is changing and everything is changing. The situation 10 years ago and the situation today is quite different. But when I was a student, I just tried different perspectives, and today we have much more possibilities. Because the internet, AI, all these brought a lot of good to find new opportunities, and to find just not new opportunities for career, because this is also very important. But for me, when person wants to develop themselves, it can be with various ways, and personal development is one of the most important for me, because without this personal development, without these skills, you can find in any different project. Actually, sometimes topic also doesn't matter, because, for example, when you are engaged in some volunteer job work and you try to bring some good for people, or I don't know, for the planet, it doesn't matter. You are focused on doing something valuable, and this is very important. So being active, not proactive, is very important for today, because for example, 2 years ago, I didn't imagine that one day I will start a volunteering program, and I will engage as a volunteer, because these perspectives and these experiences are very important. And if you have the possibility to being to see the world, see different countries. This is also very important, because you are increasing as a person, you are increasing as your skills. Sometimes people think that 2 or 3 diplomas are enough to be successful in your profession, or not only successful, be happy, because why we need the career? We need the career to being happy, being realized as a person. So I think they just go abroad and see different countries, meet new people, is also important to each of us. Yeah.
Absolutely, like we are here for a short time, so have uh, we have been blessed with this beautiful world. It's to explore, to meet people, and then live a life you will remember, like the song. And it's absolutely, like we should not worry about anything, because what will happen, it's going to happen anyway. So, without worrying much, if we act,
Yeah.
just act today, keep exploring, investing after us, for self, like development and exploring that you mentioned is very important to travel. Like it's very important as well. It will broaden our minds. So thank you so much again, Maya, for this incredible, resourceful, and informative session. In short, you have shared a lot. You have covered a very key areas, and it's all about like to have a purpose and develop yourself, and also definitely whatever you do, being involved with volunteering and community development activities is very important. And I've been like, it's been 13 years I've been volunteering, and I'm happy, and it keeps me motivated. It keeps me, like being excited every day. Like to learn something new and also contribute at the same time is very important. Thank you so much, Maya. Like, and we're grateful for your contribution, and we always wish best of luck for whatever you do, and we will, definitely continue in near future.
Hope so. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a great day.